ecosystem kind of an approach, and wherein everything has to work together. So that is the reason that we want to create this kind of an ecosystem.
Vishala, in part 1 of conversations, we spoke about a range of issues concerning farming, from women kind of in farming who are not now interested in it, they are migrating to cities. We spoke about millets, and of course we spoke about the earliest question. The first question was about your journey from the world of farming into the corporate world, and now of course being a part of Millet Bank. But my question to you, the first question to you in the part 2 of this series is, how do you make people start consuming millets? Because it's not considered very fashionable. Of course, it is very kind of romantic to have millets. But how do you make millets more popular, say, especially among the young generation? Because they are not really clued on to what millets are all about. How do you do it?
So one is that keep observing that what people are eating. Now people are actually moving to more ready to eat and ready to cook kind of a products, and then we have to introduce millets in the way that they want to eat. Like if people want to eat noodles, then we have to make millet noodles out of it. If people want to eat cereals, and then we want to make millet cereals for them, and anything else like instant mixes. So this is what the market is currently going on, and then we introduced in terms of ready to eat and ready to cook kind of a segment. If we see like 2 years back, and if you see any shelf, and hardly there was any product, like probably maybe muruku or laddu or this kind of traditional product. But if you see, there are multiple products, right from the breakfast to lunch and dinner and whole day meal. A lot of innovation has come in, and thanks to institutions like IIMR and NutriHub also, that they have put in a lot of effort in bringing this into the mainstream, and lot of recipes are available, a lot of formulations are available, and they are supporting startups to bring out more of this kind of a products. And we want to basically make it very attractive for the younger generation who are not aware of millets, who are not aware of their benefits, and we want to break their perception that they are not tasty, and by making them little more tastier. So once they get to the first hand adaptation and they break their perception, and they moving to more nutrition is possible. Like they can then later eat the millet rice, and then they can take the millet flour and make chapati and all this thing. But first thing, with these kind of products, the perception has to be broken, and millets have become very glamorous now. Earlier it was not glamorous, now millets have become very glamorous. If you see some of the startups, people who are Bollywood stars and Tollywood stars are investing into this space, and you've seen Anushka Sharma is invested into a couple of startups, and if you see Samantha invested, Shilpa Shetty invested, and Rakul Preet Singh has opened one a restaurant in Hyderabad. So more of this kind of influencers and Bollywood celebrities are coming in, which is actually a good, because people look up to them, and then whatever the influencers say, they will also kind of practice that, and that's how this is actually getting more and more visibility.
Thank you, Vishala. My next question, Vishala, would be on the role of the government in all this. I mean, every sector needs government support, at least the growing ones, and especially something like millets. We know government has done a lot in this thing, but where do the state governments come into all this? What should they do for making millet growing more popular, and develop things like market linkages and improving the supply chain?
I can say that it is just started. If you see, only couple of states like Karnataka has done excellent job, and then Odisha is doing a great work, and then couple of other states like now they are picking up, like Rajasthan Millet Mission and Chhattisgarh Millet Mission and Odisha Millet Mission and Karnataka Millet Mission, like that. And having said that, couple of other states have not still started their millet policy, and there is no roadmap, and that is where I think the journey has just started, and state governments has to drive this more efficiently, and they have to, like what I told, that it has to be created like an ecosystem, like a cluster based approach, like a community based approach. Then only it will happen, because millet is a very fragmented supply chain. Farmers are not at one place, and the regions where they are growing are not at one place. And one more thing is the productivity is very little, and the farmers who are growing this are very small. They have a land of 1 to 3 acres. So they don't have that kind of a capability of creating their own ecosystem. So somebody has to create this ecosystem to encourage them to grow more millets, and market linkage is very important, and stability in the market demand is very important. So that is where the state government has to play a major role, and the journey just has begun, and probably we look forward what they are going to do, because the International Year of Millets is over, and even the governments got sensitized, and the departments were also actively involved, and now we have to see how they are going to unfold this.
Vishala, of course, we talked about the government now and how the government can do, but there's also a question of investment in growing millets, solving the production issues, for example, and ensuring that the consumers are aware of millets, because these are all interlinked, they're not separate silos as such. So how does this all can work out in sync?
So honestly, if they can take care of the two issues that I have spoken, everything in between will get settled. Number one is the production challenge they have to address by investing a lot into the rural infrastructure, in the agriculture infrastructure and millet centric infrastructure. And what we see, the common facility centers in the rural areas, they are not going to address all the problems. They probably address the processing problem, but that is not the only issue. The issue is a lot more, like market linkage is an issue, branding is an issue, and seed availability is an issue, and the skill is an issue, and labor availability is an issue. So until unless that you solve this burden for the farmers and you actually make them to grow millets, nothing is going to happen, because somebody has to produce. So that is a number one thing. And the second is consumer awareness, and people in India where we grow a lot of millets, they themselves are not aware, because the younger generations, this entire food culture, we left it 40 years ago, and they are not even able to recognize these grains, as I said. So there has to be a huge investment has to be done in consumer awareness, and the outreach has to be very community and demography driven. Like you pick up all the schools in the country, like not just the government schools and the private schools, and run a very exclusive campaign, and you pick up a corporates in the country and you run exclusive campaign. You pick up like all the other segments like hospitals in the country, run an exclusive campaign, and you make them sensitized so much that they actually open their doors. Otherwise, now there is a lot of resistance. We are going and asking hospitals to adopt, we are going and asking corporates to adopt. There is a little resistance, so it has to be broken by through this kind of a very strategic campaigns that we can work on this. And even if they have to, we have to export also, even the other countries. In India only we have a challenge of consumer awareness, and imagine in the other countries who doesn't even know about millet. So a lot of investment has to go in these two things. One is the consumer awareness and the production level. In between, people have their own business interest, processors will have our own business interest, and brands will have their own business interest. If these two issues are solved, market demand will grow up, and if the market demand is grown, then lot of investments will come into the place, and then that will solve the middle problem. So yeah.
But the question is also not just about government and the support from the industries as such. I mean, the kind of food production industries. Also, the question is the investment in growing millets, because as I said before, the question of MSPs and other things arise here, and also very small segment of farmers actually growing millets. So how do you solve these production issues, and also, of course, very importantly, how do you ensure consumer awareness?
Absolutely, and the corporate sector is one of the most potential sector. If they can adopt millets, and lot of issues will be solved, because corporate employees, they have already a challenge in terms of the lifestyle diseases are on the rise, and it is decreasing the workplace productivity, and they also have a employee workforce welfare programs. And if you see that corporate employees are more aware, and they are very flexible in adopting the new food cultures, and they can Google anything, they can know the facts, and they have capability to buy these products, and they have everything. But all that what we have to do is that we have to get this wall broken, because who can access to the corporates? The small and marginal startups who are having very limited resources and not having so much of connections, they cannot go and break these walls. So there has to be a kind of a community approach where the government also should get involved, and there has to be a policy how the private institutions also should support this millets, and maybe 20-30% of their menu should have millets, and if they are selling some products, there should be some 20-30% of millet products has to be solved. If they are like serving some food, the menu should have some dishes made with millets. So they have a great they can do a lot of contribution to this segment. So that is how I've picked up this Decode Millet campaign. And thankfully, initially there was a lot of resistance when I spoke to people that we should do this in a very big way, and who will do it, why will they accept, and it's very difficult and all. But when I started doing on our own with our own resources, they have seen, okay, yes, now we should also contribute and support. So we are now having lot of other partners from the government and private also, and we are taking this forward.
That's I think that's the way forward, Vishala. I appreciate that. But the question is also about promotion of millets. How is it actually happening? Because we saw a lot of activity during the International Year of the Millets, and also during the G20, where in every forum possible that millets was kind of promoted, even by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Now, question is, how do you take this awareness and availability across the spectrum? Because we can't just have one section of the population consuming millets. I mean, the answer may be there in your Decode Millets campaign. Can you just tell us more about this campaign, and of course, as I talked about, the awareness and availability to the entire Indian population?
Actually, it was done in a large way last year during the International Year of Millets. There was an excellent opportunity for us to promote millets during the G20 platform, and the government of India has done it extremely well. So every G20 conference, there were stalls were given to the millet startups to showcase the branding. Stalls were given to institutions to showcase their innovations, and also like the entire menu had millets, and even the gifts they have given the millet based gifts. So people who are into the leadership positions and policy makers, they are very well aware of. So they have done extremely great work, but now what we have to do is that we have to bring that awareness from the top level to the bottom level as well. So this has to be done through creating festivals and creating campaigns, and once you speak about millets, they will adopt. I will tell one case study. Recently, we have done one small workshop in one of the corporate company. There were 40 people. First of all, there is a resistance. They don't attend anything when it comes to nutrition and health. So by a great difficulty, that company has put together this 40 people together. And then when we asked how many people are aware of millets, 6 hands have gone up. And then I asked them this question, how many of you have tasted millet in your life? 2 hands have gone up. And imagine, this is the age group between 25 to 40. And if this is the kind of response is coming in our neighborhood, which is actually where we grow millets and people fairly aware of, and you can imagine this kind of awareness in the other countries. So once you say that, once you make them feel the grain by giving it in their hands, and then once they taste the products made with millets, and once we explain that this is not just nutrition, this is also contributing to the planet and also farmers and their livelihoods, and then they get sensitized, they get bonded with this grain. So that is the kind of awareness, kind of engagement driven awareness has to be done. It should not be a broad information broadcasting. You eat millet, you will be healthy. Nobody is interested in that. So you have to go to them, and then you have to explain, you have to make them touch, taste and feel, and then you also have to create an opportunity and access for them to buy these products, maybe in their canteens, in the nearest retail outlets, or you have to tell them that these are the sources where you can buy. We will be able to do it, and it needs a lot of effort and everybody's contribution. So just 1 or 2 organizations will not be able to do it.
Yes, we need the publicity to be kept going. It's not stopping just there. Of course, the question is also, which a lot of us talk about and debated extensively by politicians, by media, by everybody, is of course that agriculture is no longer that glamorous today. It's not hardly profitable. Government has to come out with things like loan waivers and other things. Many farmers commit suicide. The problem is, how do you actually ensure that the next generation, that is a generation which is now just getting out of college or even in senior schools, how do you think those youngsters hailing from agriculture families, somebody like you for example, you were 20 years ago, you were in the same position, they are not interested in farming anymore. These youngsters, they want to come to the city, get a job and be done with it. But how do you ensure that they become agri-entrepreneurs, and how do you ensure that farming actually becomes a profitable profession again? Is this the right strategy?
It is not actually one such strategy. It is the strategy. That is the only way that it will work. Only people, a farmer generation should take this momentum forward, nobody else. And today, honestly, if I am actually, my journey in millet is not less than 4 years as a business or as a brand. Otherwise, I was born into the farming family, and the advantage of knowing everything at the grassroots level, working in the coming from the farming background and having this kind of knowledge to speak about it is actually made me to be where I am. So this is very, very important. They already have a legacy, they already have knowledge, they know what it is, but all that they don't have is the voice. They don't have the right communication to reach out to, they don't have the right resources. And if at all we can create this kind of a system and train hundreds of these farmers' sons and daughters to be farm entrepreneurs, to be food entrepreneurs, I think that is going to do the magic. And that is when they will also have interest of retaining the farming. Otherwise, if they are not into this game, they will simply sell the land and then move away to cities and get into some other jobs. But if we convert them as a farm entrepreneur, agri entrepreneur and food entrepreneur, they not only solve the food problems of the society, but also they can retain the agriculture. So that is the only strategy. It should be worked like that. And this is not just a 5-year journey or 10-year journey, it should be next 20 years or even for lifelong. So this has to continue. The legacy holders, like the custodians who actually born into the farming families, should be made as main stakeholders also in this journey, and that is very, very important. But unfortunate that they are leaving, but we have to retain.
As you said, that is the strategy. Yes, correct. Now the question is also a bit, of course, you are famously often referred to as a millet woman of India. Are you proud of this tag, or being such a person who doesn't like titles, do you think this will motivate more women to become food entrepreneurs? I know you are very, very humble in this respect, but you are still called the Millet Woman of India.
I don't think that I deserve that title, and it's very big title. It's not like an ornament or anything that we can wear it and proudly display. It has to be there emotionally. It has to be, you should have that kind of a contribution even to say that, I am a Millet Woman of India. And I am actually, honestly, I go by this Robin Sharma's, there was one book, Leaders Without Title. So I actually follow that kind of philosophy. I don't flaunt any titles, and I don't seek any titles. You just focus on your work. And when it comes to the Millet Woman of India or a Millet Man of India, and almost everybody who is in this space, like a farmer who is growing millet, and women who is processing millet, and women who is actually making the live food with millets, or women who is actually preserving this kind of farming knowledge and then seed. They are the custodians of this millet segment. I think everybody deserves that kind of a title, but it should not be like limited to one person or two people. I don't think that we should actually have this kind of titles.
Thank you, Vishala, for speaking to us at SA Media.
Thank you, Suresh Garu. Probably, we will have a lot of data by then, and we are looking forward to see how this millet momentum will unfold and do good for farmers and planet and for people. Thank you.
Appreciate your time and having a conversations with us at SA Media. And for our viewers, thank you for watching. We'll have more such stories for you. Jai Hind.